Inovio's work on a vaccine was covered by KPBS multiple times.
KPBS health reporter Tarryn Mento has been following the progress at Inovio Pharmaceuticals.
It was recently touted by San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer.
Great company that is also receiving national and worldwide attention on Inovio's vaccine research.
And it was featured on 60 Minutes in late March.
At Inovio Pharmaceuticals in San Diego.
Weeks earlier, on February 14th, Inovio CEO Joseph Kim appeared on Fox Business. He declared his company's DNA technology developed a coronavirus vaccine at an incredible speed.
We're able to construct our vaccine, INO 4800, in about 3 hours.
And he said the company was preparing to begin testing in summer. Kim repeated the claim on March 2nd during a recorded meeting with President Donald Trump.
By getting just the DNA sequence of the virus, we're able to fully construct our vaccine within 3 hours.
And he added human testing would be moved up to April. But a class action lawsuit filed by investors who purchased shares after these comments claimed the boasting was inaccurate. They say it was intended to drive up the company's market value. Inovio's share prices spiked around the time of Kim's comments, but dropped after a research firm questioned that Inovio developed a vaccine in 3 hours. Inovio told KPBS the claims are a result of misunderstanding the science behind DNA medicine. A plaintiff's attorney did not respond to messages seeking comment. University of San Diego law professor David McGowan says there are 3 points to consider in these types of cases.
There's an alleged misstatement, there's an alleged correction, and then there's an allegation of motive.
The alleged misstatements were the comments by Kim. The alleged motive is the company could sell stock at a high price. The alleged correction came when Citron Research tweeted that Inovio's 3-hour vaccine development was, quote, ludicrous, and it called on the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to investigate. Inovio appeared to respond in a tweet later that day that it had created a, quote, vaccine construct in 3 hours, but was confident that it had a viable product.
So those come together to depict the plaintiff creates a story. There was a misstatement. Why? Because of this motive, and then the truth came out, and this is what happened.
He says there are a few points that may bode well for Inovio. First, the report by Citron was from a short seller. They generally have a stake in stocks going down.
It doesn't mean it was wrong, but it's something to take into account.
And he points to the impact on the market of Kim's alleged misstatements. McGowan says there wasn't a major spike in price after Kim's first comment, Inovio developed a vaccine quicker than you can watch Lord of the Rings. He says the sharpest increase came later when Kim told President Trump about human testing in April.
Which would make sense if you're an investor and you think that the closer you get to testing, the closer you might be to a product.
And the company's value eventually went back up after the Citron tweet, suggesting market confidence. The lawsuit was filed in March, but we know that Inovio did begin human testing in April. But Inovio had to have some factual basis to make that statement back then. UCLA law professor James Park says publicly traded companies are held to pretty high standards.
But if you're disregarding certain red flags or evidence indicating that your statement is false, that can be considered sufficient to establish fraudulent intent.
So if the case moves forward, Park says Inovio may have to show evidence that backs its statements about testing and that it developed a vaccine in that 3 hours.
You might look at internal emails or documents that the company might have produced about its various development of the vaccine. And if there's no documentation at all supporting that there is a viable vaccine that's been developed, then the company should have been aware that there was no basis for making the statement.
Both McGowan and Park expect Inovio to request dismissing the case. Park says securities fraud suits against pharma companies are tossed out nearly half the time. But he thinks there are enough questions that a judge may allow this case to go forward.
Surviving a motion to dismiss does not necessarily mean this is a good case. It only means that the court wants to learn more about the facts.
That could be months away at least. Inovio said in federal filings it plans to vigorously fight the case. And earlier this month, the company said it will begin another clinical trial with its vaccine in South Korea. Tarryn Mento, KPBS News.